All right, what is up, everyone? This is the Technology Guy, Mike Paterno, and we are here with another episode. We're going to be talking Tesla again today. Specifically, we're going to be talking my top and bottom 5 things that I like and dislike about the Model 3. After owning it for about 6 months now, I have a pretty good kind of idea of what I like and what I don't. I got to tell you, just before we even start with the list, the things that I like, the top 5 things, I like a lot more than I dislike the things in the bottom of the list. So that bottom of the list actually took me a little bit of coming up with, if you know what I mean. All right, so let's get into it. So starting with number 5 of my favorite things about the Tesla Model 3 is safety. The Tesla Model 3 earned the NHTSA's lowest probability of injury tested in all the vehicles they've tested since 2011 until today. The Tesla Model 3, of the 3 models that Tesla currently makes, is the lowest probability of injury. It comes in just around, 5.8% or so. The next non-Tesla is almost 7%. And so you can actually see, if you're watching the video podcast on this chart here, that it is a very safe car, the safest if you go by probability of injury. I'm going to just read you from something I have over here, from Tesla themselves, about what makes the Model 3 safe. I'll read you just a couple sentences. So, in addition to its near 50-50 weight distribution, Model 3 was also designed with an extremely low polar moment of inertia, which means that its heaviest components are located closer to the car's center of gravity. Even though Model 3 has no engine, its performance is similar to what's described as a mid-engine car due to its centered battery pack, which is the heaviest component of the car, and the fact that the Model 3's rear motor is placed slightly in front of the rear axle rather than behind it. There's a lot more. I'll post a link down below on this video, so if you want to read that report by Tesla, you can. But at the end of the day, number 5 is safety, because I have kids that I have, my kids are in the car. They're, obviously very important to me, and the safety of everyone who's in my car is very important to me, including myself. So that is number 5. Number 4, over-the-air software updates. Now, something really neat about the Tesla, just like your iPhone or any other device, maybe even your computer, you sort of look forward to things getting updated. And in most other aspects of our life, it's kind of a given that a piece of software is going to get updated. Well, guess what? Teslas aren't the only cars that have software in them. If you ask me, they have some of the best software, but what's really neat about a Tesla that most other car manufacturers are not yet doing is that they're updating their software, and they're doing it frequently. And over the last couple months, they're doing it really frequently. So what I would say is, I actually look forward, right? I'm checking my app every few days, especially when I'm reading about different software updates that are supposed to be coming out. Like, we're waiting for one right now. And it's just exciting to kind of get that update and go in the car and see what it does. I've even gotten an update recently that gave me an extra little bit of speed boost, right? A 5% power increase on the car. So I don't know if any other car manufacturer, even if they could do it, if they had the technology and the infrastructure in place to update their cars over the air, I'm not sure that they would decide to do that for free after the car's been purchased, right? They'd rather sell you another car. So over-the-air software updates comes in at number 4. Number 3 has to be the fact that it's fully electric. I haven't gone to a gas station in 6 months, right? Since I got the car. I maybe have gone to stop at the store at the gas station, but I have not needed to get gas for 6 months. I purposefully let my wife fill up our minivan because I'm just so excited that with my car, it's my car. It's still a family car, but I still like the fact that I just come home. Whenever it's in the garage, it's plugged in, and whenever I need to go, it's ready to go. Usually with a full, 310-mile range. I shouldn't say that, right, because I charge it to about 90%, but it has about a 280-mile range most days when I'm driving it. Number 2 is definitely the autopilot, the Navigate on autopilot, Summon, and the other smart features of the car. It's just really neat to have basically a tablet mounted in the front, and the entire car is just driven by that beautiful tablet that's up there. Before I purchased the car, I actually saw another video of a guy getting pulled over by a police officer who was telling him that it was actually illegal for him to mount a device that big. It was a neat video. I'm sure it was when the car first came out, and even today, after being out for a couple of years, I'm sure that there's people out there that haven't seen them. don't know, what they are, but it was neat to have to kind of see someone explain, like, nope, that is the car. It's not removable. You can't detach it. It is how you do things in this car. And I think that's a really neat interface. I'm a big tech guy, obviously, and I'm big into mobile technologies. So to kind of have an iPad on my desk at work and have basically an equivalent of a Tesla iPad in my car that kind of is the brains of the car, I love that. All right, and my number one most favorite thing about the Tesla has got to be the acceleration. I have a long range all-wheel drive, like you may have heard in a previous podcast. The long range all-wheel drive does 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds. That's not to say that I'm a maniac and every red light that I'm stopped at, I'm flooring it when it turns green. But when there's opportunities, if I'm getting on the highway, and generally where I live in my area, it's not a very populated highway, right? So I can generally accelerate there. There's even times where there may be a stop sign getting onto the highway, for whatever reason, and those are great opportunities to really kind of unleash the power that the Tesla provides. It's just fun to drive. It's one of those things where until you get in one and really see it, even drive it, you really don't, people could tell you as much as they want, like I am now, that the thing is fun to drive and the thing's fun to be in. But until you experience it for yourself, you really can't get that. So I would highly recommend go test drive one of these things, even if it's just on a weekend for fun. Even if you're not planning on purchasing one right away, it's neat to just kind of get have the experience and really be able to understand what people are talking about. And in my experience where I live, the people at the service center that go with you for the test drive, they'll take you somewhere where they encourage you to open it up a little bit. Maybe not a full on 4.4 seconds and 0 to 60, but they'll encourage you to really drive it. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. I'm going to go through some what I consider to be nitpicky things. These are kind of my bottom 5, or maybe the 5 things I complain about if I complain about anything with the Model 3. Just being honest with people, I don't think there's a perfect car out there, and people are going to have their little things. So number 5 of my bottom 5 list is basically that the thing just chimes and beeps a lot. There are times when I'm happy that it does, right? If it's warning me not to get over because there's a car in my blind spot, good chime. But a lot of times, if you're pulling up, you may be behind a car and you start going, and as the car in front of you pulls away, you just get like a little ding because maybe some proximity sensor to that car gets tripped. It's not a huge thing, but it's just one of those things where, there's different, dings and chimes and things going off sometimes when they don't really need to be. Number 4 is that, in my view, some of the things and the way that Tesla markets things aren't exactly how they are in reality. When I say markets things, I don't mean commercials or print or anything like that, because if you follow Tesla at all, you know that they don't really do that. Their marketing is Twitter, right? A lot of people get the news from Elon Musk's Twitter feed, not even Tesla's. And a lot of times they'll come out and say things like, navigate on autopilot now with no confirm needed. You could just go on the highway and it's amazing. The car is going to switch lanes for you automatically and get you from your entry on the highway to your exit. And the problem with that is that it doesn't exactly work that way. This is just one example that I'll explain. But what they actually did is before navigate on autopilot would say, hey, you have a max speed of 70 miles per hour set, and the guy in front of you is going 55. I'm going to request that you get into the left lane so that we could pass him. And what you had to do before is turn your turn stalk down. Once you did that, the car would automatically change lanes without you needing to help it, and it would accelerate to the speed that you have set as your maximum. When they pushed the release out for no confirm navigate on autopilot, my thought was that I'll just be driving along, the car would put the turn signal on, and then it would just kind of go around the car that was in front of me. But in reality, what happened is it did most of that. It went up to the car in front of me, it put the turn signal on by itself, really cool. But then it said, yeah, you're going to have to tell us that you're here in order for us to, in order for the car to actually get in the other lane. And so basically what they did is they forced you to let the car know you're there by giving a little tension on the wheel. So it basically says, put some torque on the wheel to let us know you're here. It does that even when you're on regular navigate on autopilot every so often, just to make sure that you're paying attention. But what they did with the no confirm is they just kind of move the confirmation from before the turn signal was on to the act to move over to the other lane being that the driver puts the turn signal on. They kind of shifted that forward one step where the car will put the turn signal all by itself, but it won't actually get over until you kind of grab the wheel and do a little, just a little notch to let it over. And you kind of, if you're watching the video podcast here, you'll see that playing behind me, and I demoed it in a quick video that I have. So, saying it's no confirm, it's going to take you from entry to exit without you having to do anything, it's not really true. And they just bend the reality a little bit like that all the time. And I'm not a huge fan of that. Number 3 has to do with navigate on autopilot, starting and stopping in traffic. Whereas I said that it was one of the best uses for navigate on autopilot, unfortunately, one of the things that happens as part of that is also kind of on my bottom 5. And that's that when the car in front of you starts going, so, say you're at a stop, you're in traffic, the guy in front of you starts going, the Tesla usually waits a really long time before it will actually start going, even to the point where I've had people honk behind me because they thought that I was basically not paying attention. Whereas in reality, I'm sitting in my car going, why aren't you going? It's easily solved. You just give the accelerator a little tap, and once you tell it basically to start going, it'll start following. But I just wish that they would kind of start their acceleration forward to follow the car in front of you kind of as soon as the one in front of you starts moving. In reality, it waits 3 or 4 seconds. Sometimes the guy is 2 or 3 car lengths in front of me before the Tesla will start moving to catch up. Number 2 is about the Tesla Cam. So there is a built-in camera in Tesla. The whole system right now is a little bit clunky. First of all, you need to buy your own USB stick, and you have to kind of put it in one of the 2 USB ports that are in the front under the front dash of the car. And what it'll do, assuming you format the stick the right way, you put a folder in there that's named a specific name, it'll record events that happen 10 minutes back from when you push a button on the screen to tell it to. It'll also record Sentry Mode events. So Sentry Mode is a newer feature of the car where if someone gets close, it'll start recording. Or if there's actually an incident where someone hits the car, in addition to kind of the alarms and the music going off that it goes off, it'll send you a notification on your phone and it will record that as well. The problems with the dash cam, one is that it's just kind of low quality for today's standards. That's not to say that it's 420, by 3, whatever like that super low resolution is. It's not that bad, but it is a 4:3 and it is kind of grainy. If a car in front of you is a little bit too far, maybe 3 car lengths, you're not even going to be able to read their license plate. And then the other thing is, it would be nice if you didn't have to take your USB out of your car and bring it into your house, plug it into a computer. There is actually a solution if you have an iPhone where there's a USB with kind of a lightning adapter attached to it where you can just kind of plug it right into your phone and look at your videos there. And that's what I do. I'm going to do a whole video on that by itself. But the system's just not great right now. Wireless streaming of the video to your phone in the event of a Sentry Mode alert or something else. If you just want to check what happened when you were gone, that would be awesome, right? Being able to immediately check and have it send wireless, but we're not quite there yet. My number 1 biggest pet peeve with the Model 3 has to be the charger and USB configuration. As it stands today, there are 2 USBs for the premium interior, which is the majority of the Model 3s that people are buying. There's 2 USBs up front there, and then there is basically a 12 volt, kind of what as a car charger, but it's not attached to the kind of that front bin where your phones sit on top of for charging and where those 2 USBs are. So if you want to get that 12 volt plug to the front where your phones sit, you have to basically take some panels apart and run cords. You're kind of in DIY land doing that stuff. The other thing is that there's only 2 USB ports up front, but they have features to let you put music on a USB if you want to play high quality music. The Tesla Cam, like we just talked about, is another one of those USBs. And if both of them are being used for those features, then when you want to charge, you're unplugging, thumb drives and you're plugging in charging cables. And it would just be nice to have a better solution. You can get splitters and people have used hubs and things like that. But the problem is you're reducing the power If you split one USB, for example, into two, now you're charging at something like 3 watts or 2.5 watts. And, for a car trip, unless you're driving 2 or 3 hours, it's not going to do much to help you charge your phone. I would like to see them either relocate the 12 volt to the front and maybe give two 12 volts in the front along with those USBs, or make the USBs higher powered somehow, maybe USB 3s instead of USB 2s. There's a lot of things that they can do that they just haven't done so far. And, my hope is that they kind of figure that out and wind up kind of changing the charging and USB and Tesla cam configuration, because you basically just need more. Maybe even 2 more USBs up front would be a solution. All right, so thanks so much for watching episode 2 of the Technology Guy, top and bottom 5 favorite and least favorite things about the Model 3. Hope this was some useful information, give you a little insight into what I like and what I don't about this car. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you subscribe, like, share this video. Helps me out a lot, and I would really appreciate it. And I will talk to you guys next time.